Welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast, where we empower Masters athletes to reach their full potential. Join us as we delve into the world of CrossFit and showcase the strength, resilience, and determination of Masters athletes, because we love this sport. I'm Jason Grubb. Again, I'm here with Rick Stevenson. This is episode 16, actually. I can't believe we've done this 16 times so far, and I love it every week.
It's a lot of fun. And there's something to talk about every single week, believe it or not.
Every week, and if not, we'll make something up. But no, there really is something to talk about this week. Let's jump into the news and updates. We'll jump into some of our thoughts around Masters athletes, some semifinal leaderboard, stuff like that. But the headline of today, we just happened to see this before we press the record button, is that Val O'Brien has withdrawn from competition for this weekend's semifinals. This semifinal starts in 2 days, Rick.
I was really shocked to see it. You know, it's when you check the calendar and you're like, it's not April 1st. It's not a joke. And it didn't specifically say there was injury related like Ricky Garrard was with the shoulder. The timing is curious. You wish her well. She didn't specifically say a reason why. Maybe it is injury related, but I think athlete check-in is on Thursday. So you would have to imagine that they were geared up, ready to go, and maybe even almost on site at this point down in Orlando.
Right. I mean, that's a tough situation. And I imagine, obviously, we don't know what's going on in her life, in her world. We're going to give her the benefit of the doubt of just that she's saying what she needs to spend more time on things that are meaningful to her. Mm-hmm. She needs to dial things back. And this is the second teenage phenom become young woman kind of in the CrossFit world that we've seen do this. Obviously, Haley did this just a couple of months ago and had the courage to be really transparent mm-hmm. about her exit from the competitive space. And
some of her issues.
We don't know.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, we don't. And she did some podcasts on that and was wonderfully transparent. I mean, I follow Haley, I follow Mal on Instagram, and Haley seems to be really just doing life right now. And I know we talked about before, and they're friends, and maybe there's a possibility that Haley taking that step took some of the pressure off Mal. If she'd been maybe chewing on this for a little while, knowing that she's not the only one that took a step back this season, maybe that gave her a sense of permission. But whatever's mm-hmm. going on, I mean, obviously we want to see the best for her, and she's a tremendous athlete. And this must have been a truly agonizing decision, especially if they were on site, if they're there, or even if they were just packing their bags to head out the door. Yep. Who knows what that was like, but it had to be really agonizing coming from, we're both competitors. She's a competitor, top of her game, but must have been really, really a big deal for her to pull the trigger on that post today.
I can't put myself in her shoes, just because when we think back to what we were doing at their age, it was, nothing like what they put themselves through in terms of being out there in the public. I mean, I toil in obscurity. You're certainly more known in the space than I am, but the fact that all the eyes are on these young ladies and, how it's been part of their lives just growing up in their formative teenage years, it's a lot to process, to think about this, as a competitor, but then as a parent of children relatively the same age. Everything that might or must go through your mind, and the issue, the confidence, the just mentally what you might process, if that's indeed the case. And I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. Wish her all the best.
Yeah. And I know you're a father of daughters. Yeah, she is amazing to watch yep. compete, and it's just I remember her doing the fifth quarterfinal workout with the bar muscle-ups, deadlifts, all of that. She was I had just completed it, then I watched her video, and it was just unbelievable how good she was getting through.
She was done in a fraction
events.
of the time.
Yeah. Fraction, really. And yeah, I was saying you're a father of daughters, I am a father of a daughter, and when they face certain levels of stress, we just want to swoop in as fathers, and it's everything's going to be okay, you're safe, and really be protective, obvious of our own kids. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We are obviously hopeful that everything's okay there.
The last thing maybe I'll say on this is pulling back from looking at it from a competition standpoint, for those women that do qualify for Madison. And this is, obviously not Masters related, but from the individual elite side, that point was raised that's now 6 out of the top 16 finishers last year will not be or will not have a chance to, for various reasons, be in Madison this year. So
Wow.
wide open and what should be a very exciting women's competition. And
Yeah.
don't sleep on good old Iceland Annie, who's coming back in on the
I
individual
mean,
side.
obviously,
She went team. Could she have picked a better year to step back into the individual competition, individual side?
I know. I could see it.
That is going to be exciting to watch.
Really exciting, and we will definitely have episodes where we are making bets once we see who's actually getting to the games post individual semifinals. I think as fans of the sport, we will certainly have some discussions about
absolutely
who we think our horses are to win this thing, and maybe some sleepers in there. I've got some ideas on that, so that'll be interesting. But it definitely shakes it up when you have that many of the athletes from last year that aren't there this year. Now we've got this open space. It's anything goes, I think, at the games. It's be very hard to predict, and the bets are not guaranteed. That's for sure. Moving on to the semifinal leaderboard for Masters athletes. So the whole world is ready for the individual semifinals live competitions. I'm excited to be a fan and just geek out and watch all of that. But this past week, we had our leaderboards finalized, and I've accepted my invitation to the games already, paid the fee, and I'm going. There's no way I wasn't accepting that invitation. That was Wednesday of last week. Yeah, that's when that was finalized.
It was fun to see a lot of the posts from people, because opening up that email, it validates the hard work put in, and you never want to count on a result being final until you see that email.
Precisely.
And I think the leaderboard locking last week was one step, but then I think there was a day or two delay before you got the email. Is that right? And
yeah.
You never want to. You just, with CrossFit, and we've been, I think, fairly critical of overlooking some small details along the process this year. In fairness, you wouldn't put it past them for sending something out. So you just wait until it's there. So good for you. Hats off.
Yeah, we're in, and we you've compiled a list of the top or some notable athletes that are going to the games this. We are going to go through those names. We want to do some of these highlights and shout outs, but there are 7 divisions of men and 7 divisions of women. So what we want to do is we want to take this week to shout out the 35-year-olds, the 40-year-olds, and the 45-year-olds plus into their division. And next week, we will give shout-outs to the 50 plus, the 55 plus, the 60 plus, and the 65 plus. Is that fair, Rick?
That's absolutely fair, because that's a lot of divisions, and there's a lot of good stories. And these are just names that you and I are, aware of and have followed or know or cheer for, or we'll let you do the men's 45 to 49. How about that?
I know all those guys. I'll tell you everything.
I was going to say, in fairness to any listeners that are out there, we'll keep it short and brief this week. How's that? I was going to say, starting with let's let the ladies go first. On the ladies side, 35 to 39. She podiumed last year in that division. That's China Cho, no stranger to the games. I think I counted, it's going to be her 9th trip to Madison in some capacity, individual, team, and now 2 years of Masters. It's a pretty impressive record. And then Stacy Tovar was another name that showed up out of the semifinals. And if you've been listening to the Official Games podcast, she's been guest hosting with Chase Ingram and Adrian Conway. And it's not her first year, because she's taken some time to have kids in before, as she turned 35. But this is her first year of really kind of pushing the pace, putting in the work, and it landed her a berth in Madison. And when they asked her, she said, like you, absolutely, I'm going. Yeah. I honestly, we won't know this until the rosters are set, but as we go through, I think there's really maybe one person, and you know who that is, who flat out said, not passing on the invite to be in his position. But back to the ladies. The other name that stood out there from a former games competitor was Danny Horan. And I know she comes from the Northeast. She's made a couple of games appearances, but looking at the details, this is her first trip as a Masters athlete. But then men's 35 to 39, you know who's not going, right?
There's some familiar names on that list, and I knew that Rich Froning wasn't going before we did semifinals. It was abundantly clear. He made it clear, but he still
Yep.
did the
Yep.
semifinals in order to support some of the other guys that were doing semifinals at the same time, which is just so much fun. So much fun.
That's a teammate right there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for that division, I think you had to automatically look at who was in 11th place. And that 11th place probably needs to send Rich a thank you.
Absolutely.
However, by way, shape, or form. But Scott Panchik put on a clinic in his scores there in semifinals. Brian Wong is actually the defending champ in that age group, and certainly took a lot of effort, but he appeared to have no problems both in quarterfinals and semifinals qualifying again. And then somebody who I think, another larger name out there in the sport, Frederick Agidius. He's multiple time games and Annie's significant other, but somebody who you spent time with on semifinal side, Josh Morand.
Yep.
He looks like he's going back, and he put
tremendous athlete.
He had a couple of. I think that his score in workout test A beat Froning's by a couple of seconds, if I recall correctly.
Josh.
He put
he's
it
a
out
shuttle
there.
running master. Yeah, he can shuttle. Watching him shuttle run was
that's where you made up his time.
Insane. Yeah. Now, someone who was on fringe in that 9th, 10th place spot for a while was Elijah Muhammad. He was also doing semifinals at the same time as me, and I just noticed now he's in 17th, so he won't be going to the games, and it makes me wonder if he ran into a penalty at some point somewhere in here.
I don't know the details. He referred to it as something with his goblet squats.
Yes, I know. I know what it was.
It was the last workout.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was actually watching
full extension.
Yeah, if you watch Froning's video of workout, what was that, workout 4? I remember watching that. This is after the fact.
Yeah,
test 4, and I was watching the video, sitting on the couch, watching the video on YouTube, thinking like, oh no, Elijah's not standing up tall on that box. Oh no, like it's not a good rep. Those reps are really funky. And what ended up happening, this is what he's doing. He's moving so fast. As he stood up on the box, he was tapping his second foot on the box and stepping down. You know, could you imagine stepping up with one leg, tap with your second foot and come down? And that doesn't work. And I remember thinking like, oh wow, I wonder if those are good reps or not. I just wasn't sure. I didn't really think anything about it, but I see that there was an adjustment showing that he was 9:33, and in person, he was faster than Josh on that workout. Josh shows here a score of 8:59, so Elijah definitely took a hit on that, and that bumps about to 24th place on that particular workout when all of his other placements are, in the teens or 9th on the first workout. But he's such a sweet guy. I've never got to spend much time with Elijah. But in person, he is salt of the earth. Great guy. Absolutely great guy. So bummer that we won't see him at the games, but I don't think this will be his last attempt to get there.
I think he was there as a coach for a teenage athlete last year, if I recall correctly, and obviously wanted to step back in on the competitive side himself. Won't be the last time. There's no doubt there. Women 40 to 44, a lot of familiar names, and it just shows you how long we've all been at this sport. Jen Ryan from Invictus. She's been there as an individual. She's been there as a team athlete with Invictus. She's been there as a masters athlete a number of different times. Sailed through semifinals. Looks like, barring anything unforeseen, will be accepting her invitation and is headed back to the games. Sam Briggs. I don't know the details on this. I wonder if she'll end up in Madison. I know she competed in the 35 to 39 category and has gone back to being a full-time firefighter, I believe. So I don't know what her training schedule looks like, if she even wants to do that. So we'll have to watch that division when they set the rosters.
Her scores reflected. Samantha Briggs. I was just going to say, her scores reflect that her engine is doing just fine. Literally the engine workouts are just, she just crushes that stuff. Really shocker. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Rebecca Voigt-Miller.
Oh, yeah. I think you've run out of fingers on your hands, and I think you're now needing your toes when you start to count her total games appearances. It's silly. She's one of those few that can say, I started at the ranch and have gone to Carson, and now and and then Madison, and now Madison as a masters athlete, and wherever the games end up next, she has an ability to compete at the very high level. Looks like she'll be headed back. And then another shout out to Rachel Sessa. I point this out because this is her first appearance at the games. I know she knocked on the door for a couple of years in the women's 35 to 39, and watching her, what she was able to do at Legends this past December. She came into that, you remember that final double workout very well. Pressure was on you. I could imagine the pressure was on her because she was outside of a podium spot, and she ripped off I don't even remember the finishes. She might have won that first workout and then did enough in that second workout to hold on for a podium spot. And I just thought, okay, there's somebody who can step up to the moment when the stakes are high.
Yes.
If you look at what she did here in the end of the semifinal, she went 10th, 4th, and 4th, moving her into a qualifying position. So we get to Madison, she gets her feet settled and feet on the ground, gets comfortable with everything. I would watch for her at something at the latter half of the competition when she really needs to pull a performance out. So congratulations to her as well. Men's 40 to 44. This is an interesting field. Rudy Berger is back as the defending champ, and that's where I stopped talking. There are only 2 Americans. Rudy is one of them. This is the most international field of all the age groups. 8 out of 10 are from other countries than the United States. I don't know names. I'm not aware of it. It looks like it's a pretty good shuffle from last year's men's 40 to 4 as well. So it's a whole new crop of guys coming in. And I think CrossFit's probably pretty excited when you have this much international representation. Certainly they do across all the age groups, but look at the leaderboard for men's 40 to 44.
I mean, wow.
Welcome to CrossFit semifinals.
I have insight on... I'm going to butcher... Actually, you could butcher all of their names. Actually, most of them. So I'm just going to say our leader...
I butcher
in the
names
40 to
enough.
is Samer Zarour. I was just going to say that name. He and I chat on Instagram from time to time. So he's in Lebanon working on a visa to get over here. So he's incredibly hopeful that he gets a chance to compete in person. Kane Hayes from Australia. And I believe I met Ryan. Yep. I think Ryan may have come out to the games with Kane Hayes. But I competed against Kane in 2019. In that year, we were both 40 to 44. Kane took 4th place that year, and there was an athlete, 2nd place, I believe, that did get a failed drug test. And so that put Kane Hayes onto the podium after the fact that year. So I know he was hungry to get back. He was there in 2022 and was on the podium in 2022. So even though he's in 8th place, that guy is again, I can only talk about the guys I know, but he is a machine and is very, very challenging out on the competition floor. So I'm actually nervous about him coming up to my age group next year. So I've got eyes on you, Kane. If you listen to this podcast, I know that we could be friends this year, and then next year we're not friends anymore. at least for a couple of years. I
was going to say, so he does one of those pretty incredible feats where you qualify as at the end of the age group. Is that
correct?
So
that is correct.
43, 44 right now. Okay, wow, that's impressive.
Very impressive.
And then let's see. I'll start off with women's 45 to 49, and then we know what you'll talk about next, without a doubt. But,
I got it.
Kelly Friel, you got him covered. Kelly Friel qualified 45 to 49, and she was the champ last year in the 40 to 44 group. So she did what was very difficult to do when you win at the end of your age group years and then age up. And here she is sitting in the 45 to 49. There were 2 ladies that are tied for 9th. It looks like both had the same number of points, 273 points. And also from the 45 to 49, speaking of international representation, 3 of the ladies, so almost a third of the 45 to 49 field, are from Brazil. Do they all know each other? Probably do. Even though it's a very large country, when you're a masters athlete, it's small enough, and you run in the same circles with competitions. But if all 3 are able to make it up to Madison, that should be pretty entertaining to watch. 3. We're going to consider them friends, probably know each other, go at each other in the 45 to 49 group.
Well, they'll be able to speak a language
All
that
right, men
most of us won't understand.
Oh,
So
yes. Yeah, exactly.
men 45,
Men's
49.
45 to 49.
I know
I don't know.
this group quite well. There's one name on there that I don't know, but we've got Chris Anderson that took second place. Chris has just aged up into our age group. He is a very fit human being. I've seen him at every competition, just battling the 40 to 44-year-olds. I did compete with Chris at the games in 2019, I believe, was the last time I competed with him at the games. Again, we were both in the same age group at that point. He is bumped up, and he is he's got an engine. And if you take a look at the workouts that he did really well in, he's a threat. I say a threat. Okay, so talking from my perspective, I know you all are listening. Like, I know these guys. I'll just say, like, this guy can really move fast. He's great at gymnastics. We've got Gerard in third. We talked about him last week. Mike Kern is, I believe this might be Mike's sixth appearance at the games, fifth or sixth. It's my fifth. I think he's got 5 or 6. He's an amazing athlete. When you look at Mike, he's built like a truck. And he may be one of the most intimidating looking men on the field because of his strength. I mean, he's very, very strong. David Levy was an individual athlete in his history. I believe he came on teams as well, I think. But he's also an athlete that I competed against the last time in the Masters division in 2018. Just an amazing athlete from South Africa. Ryan Retke, this is his first appearance at the CrossFit Games. He had a dream to make it to the games this year. I know he's got a whiteboard with his goals on it. So congratulations, Ryan. Amazing. Justin LaSala is a 40. Well, he'll be a 49-year-old. So he is at the top of this age group. He's the old man in our age group. You're welcome, Justin, for saying that. But amazing. I mean, this guy just doesn't give up. He won't quit, and he is a solid athlete. He's been to the games every year I've been there. And I think one more than that. So well done there. Lastly, the last two guys.
Stay 49, Justin.
Stay 49. No, Justin's coming for you next year. He's amazing.
God.
Spencer Whitley is from the UK. This is the second appearance at the games. He was 40 to 44 in 2021, and amazing athlete. He and I took a swim together in Madison in an open water and got kicked out of said open water because it wasn't the time to be open water swimming. But thank you, Spencer. I look forward to swimming with you to practice prior to the events this year. And Vlad Leskevich tied with Breck Berry at 275 points. Vlad also was on the podium last year in third place. So Vlad is an incredible athlete. He is from Belarus, which is why he does not have a flag. It's just, Belarus and Russia flags don't show up. But I believe he lives in California. And if you just want to meet one of the nicest guys out there, Vlad is among some of the best. So a stacked field right here, and guys I'm very familiar with. So that's it through the 45-year-olds. We will continue with the 50-plus athletes in the male and female divisions next week. Give some shout-outs. But congratulations to all of the under 50-year-olds that punched a ticket to the games this year. It's an amazing thing. Every year, it's amazing.
We highlighted names, of course, that we know or people that we know, and we know the quality of athletes 1 through 10, but a lot can be said from 11 through 20 too. And from your experience when you were in fields of 20, that cut to 10 does leave a number of quality athletes in that 11, 12, 13, 14 area on the outside looking in. In years past, they would have been headed there. So it takes nothing away from their accomplishments, those that were just a few points outside or maybe had one bad test that was enough to put them in 12th place or something like that. And it just shows you that fine line that everybody who did qualify had to ride to make sure no holes, no mistakes, quality videos. Hey, say the password, don't short the reps, do everything right, and be able to still be fast enough to outdistance your competitors.
Right. And bringing that up, we think about, you and I have talked about in other podcasts, we talked about how great it would be, again, to have 15 to 20 athletes at the games, and that would be a more well-rounded group of athletes presented in each age group. Yeah, that's a lot of human beings when you've got, 14 categories of masters athletes between male and female. But I just take a look at the 45-year-old division, 5th place, Joey Heschman. He had 251 points, and 10th place was 275. Joey was 24 points out of 10th place. That's just not that many points when you take a look at, how many points were available, So, we've got 10th place, 275, 266, 255, 254, 251. that's such a tight amount, and even going down to the top 20. But any one of those guys in that 10 to 20-year-old, 10 to 20 year old, not year old, placement, if they're at the games and they're competing in person, they've got a shot. And I'm a guy that can attest to that. I came to the games in 2018 in 13th place. That was my placing at the age group qualifier that year, and took third that year. So I was this sleeper. No one knew me. It was my first year at the games. I just happened to be good at this, and I did okay. So certainly, the 13th in my division, David Johnston, that guy could come and easily be on the podium if he was able to qualify, if they took the top 15. But again, we'll keep working on that message to CrossFit, because the Masters are the bulk of CrossFit athletes. Over 50% are Masters athletes. And, we're advocates, and y'all know it out there that we're advocates of a larger group at the games.
Absolutely.
Of course. So, Rick,
and
I'm
maybe
looking at
if it's not some of our older age, I was going to say, maybe if it's not some of our older age groups, and which we will talk about next week, but I think the best thing to happen for that argument to continue to have legs is Rich and Scott turning 35 this year. Because I feel this year, and we've been doing age group online qualifiers for a number of years now, I can't think of a year where there's been more talk from the main CrossFit media about age groups. And it's truly because of who they wanted to see in 35 to 39, and who, when Rich made his announcement, who they aren't going to see. Because people, he and the rest of those guys bring eyeballs onto the sport. And I think that's what CrossFit should be looking for. Yeah. Can you make it work, even if you give them more space, more spots? What's wrong with 15 35 to 39-year-old males and females? Right. I mean, come on. If they want to grow it, if they want to grow the game side, that's the way.
It's a fair argument. And even if they started with that age, right? And again, we'd like to see that, as many age groups. Maybe there's a minimum amount of participants in an age group in order for them to expand that field, which would be cool. But they pay the 35 to 39-year-olds a larger prize purse than the 40 plus. And so it just makes sense that, well, if there's a larger prize pool there, let's have more competitors there. Of course, you and I want to advocate, like, let's spread this prize pool to the other age groups as well. But again, if that age group has the largest participation in the open, that 35 to 39, or it has one of the largest along with the 40 to 44, but that's a lot of inflow of income to CrossFit by having those extra people in there. They're already paying them a little bit more in the prize pool. Significantly more. So their first place gets 25,000. Our first place gets 10,000. That's more than twice as much. They should have a larger field there to be consistent. It's a consistent, larger field, larger prize pool, and then they graduate that down for the older age groups, which is it is what it is, but interesting stuff. In our show notes, Rick,
we'll keep beating that drum.
You mentioned the worm in our show notes. We chatted about this beforehand. And again, I forgot to ask you in our show notes, why did you want to talk about the worm? And what does that mean for you, the worm? We're talking about the team version of the worm. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the worm?
The team version of the worm. Well, leave it to me to bring out something from left field here. But no, there was an interesting article I found this week on the history of the worm from a team implement, and how it has transitioned over the years into what its current form is, the current 4-person worm. I thought it was a little relevant just because of with elite semifinals beginning this week and moving for the next 3 weeks, teams come back into focus. It's been a darn near 2 months since I think they did their quarterfinals. It's shockingly long that we're complete. We've had quarterfinals and semifinals and a few weeks off, and now suddenly teams are back in the mix. But I tied this into Legends. You mentioned last week when we talked about the Legends competition that they'll be introducing teams for the first time with some age group requirements. And Masters Fitness Collective, the other high-level off-season competition, did have teams last year. They had teams of 2, and I actually participated with a 2-person worm and competed with that. And it's just something that maybe as Masters athletes we don't train with as often. we might watch the younger ones in the gym if you have a regionals level team that's practicing, and you might help them move it back and forth or whatever. Or, hey, take a few, thruster reps with it and go, oh God, this thing is awful. I don't know how you guys move this in unison together and how you work together with communication, but just something to think about. Again, I would imagine out of all the implements in the gym, the worm for a master's athlete is probably the least touched. And not because of skill, it's just because who thinks to work with it unless you have a reason. And I sure hope that Legends this year has thoughts of maybe introducing that. It's a great way to force teammates to work together. And we'll see it on display this weekend at the first of the semifinals, both in Africa and North America East.
Did you say that the first worm was made out of wood and chain?
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. Come on.
Yep. Wood and chain.
Yeah.
Do you remember those? Well, it ties back to certainly Castro and SEAL training. Prospective SEAL candidates have something called log PT, where they just carry logs everywhere, and they do a lot of the same, believe it or not, movements that you will see now on the competition floor: up and over your head, down to the ground, back up. They march with it, they carry it, they hold it in static position, static holds over their heads. But what Rogue introduced in 2013 were individual sections. They bored a 2-inch hole through each of the sections and linked them with chains. And I have the details on it. It's pretty scary. The log worm weighed 405 pounds. And for comparison's sake, the modern 4-person worm that you're going to see this weekend is 365 pounds. And you see that the stress and strain that they're under now, with arguably stronger athletes, in 2013 to be manhandling 405 pounds. And I think it was still 6-person teams back then. I could be wrong. But crushed fingers, banged heads. They until Rogue got smart and put the soft bags in there and covered them, you had that gnarly log worm as the introduction to the worm in team sports.
I can't imagine. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
It's
not often you talk about the worm on our podcast.
No, but I agree with you that with Legends being able to have a 4-person team, I just can imagine Bob and Joe sitting in a room at a white, thinking to themselves, how can we kill them? How can we kill them? Well, the worm would do it. The worm would really do it. And I mean, to have, they always have really great coverage of Legends. And to have 4-person masters teams navigating a worm would be just a treat to watch. And I am going to raise my hand as a guy that I've never touched a worm or the 4-person worms or anything like that. I was in a competition one time that was a partner competition, and we did some sort of sandbag over our heads. It was tied together. It was a little janky, but even that was pretty interesting, pretty tough. It wasn't formal, but to have a 4-person balance, coordination, agility, all the CrossFit words in one implement, and having 4 people synchronize that sounds amazing. And in my mind, I think about Legends like, just on that fact, I want to do team. I'll probably do individual, but it would be so much fun to be a part of a team doing something like that.
Well, when you put more than 2 people on a team together, I think then you begin to run into a ceiling at some point with ways to test teamwork. You can have waterfall style events, and you can have you go, I go, or 2 males work, 2 females then work. But until you introduce something where everybody has to collectively work together, I think the worm is perfect for that. With a 3-person competition that I did, you can't even put it down unless you're in sync to put it down, because one person puts it down, the other 2 aren't ready, and it comes ripping off their shoulders. That's why you institute drop commands and things like that. It'll be something. And hey, let's watch the best in the world work over the next 3 weeks with it. And
I can't wait.
Maybe we'll see it later this year. You never know.
As a fan of the sport, I'm super excited to watch semifinals. I've got friends competing in the East. I've got friends competing in the West, in Brazil, overseas. I mean, it's just going to be really fun to watch. So with all of that said, you and I were talking beforehand, like it would be fun to talk about how we train as masters versus younger athletes. And this is a huge topic. We could spend a straight year talking about this. And this will come up from time to time where we'll just bring up a certain element of how we train as masters differently than younger athletes. So we decided to start at just the very beginning of a training session and hit the topic briefly on warm-ups. And I know you and I, we spent 20 minutes talking about our warm-up and priming, and the the things that work, the things that don't work, and our time constraints as masters. But to kick this off, I'll say that, obviously as masters athletes, it is imperative for us to really spend time on our warm up. Like, this is a methodical process to get warm, to make sure that we're mobilized. We've got a heart rate, we've got some sweat going before we do really anything, but especially more complex, higher level skills. And so whether you're new to CrossFit or you're, a seasoned games athlete, the warm-up is like just about one of the most important elements of this entire game. In fact, one of my friends is a 32-year-old games athlete. He'll be competing at semifinals this year, but he's 32. And I was talking with him a couple weeks ago. He walked in and he was getting ready to train a second session. And he was like, hey, Grub, I used to be able to just walk in and just work out. Like, I didn't need a warm-up. I just, ice cold, I just get into a snatch session. It's like, now I got to spend like 20 minutes warming up before I put a barbell over my head. I'm like, yeah, bro, you're 32. Like, you're an old man. You gotta do these things. But so it's really important to do that. Well, we could say it's important, but you also mentioned constraints and the challenges with doing a proper warm-up. You want to share about that, especially even your experience this morning?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad you brought the topic up because, yes, it was relevant from just what I was going through. First, from pulling back, I do think affiliates overall have become more intelligent about how to warm athletes up, and that's general population, that's competitive athletes. But I think specifically for the masters tracks that you followed, you probably have seen an evolution in the dedication that programmers put into properly priming the systems of what you're trying to achieve, at least in the first 2 or 3 movements. But I'm very lucky that I come from a place in our gym where our programmer and owner, he believes wholeheartedly in not only a full proper warm up and a lot of accessory work and then a proper cool down. The trouble that I face now, though, from a constraint perspective, is like I walked in this morning and I knew I had an hour and 15 minutes. That was my hard stop because I had to get home, get ready for work, and head out the door. So what that does is it causes me to shortchange my warm up some. And so we've all of us. Anybody out there has sometimes used the first round of something as that'll be my kind of even better warm up. And then round 2 becomes, okay, now the workout has started. You don't do that in competition, obviously, but in training days, look, something in the gym is better than nothing in the gym. I've always told myself that. I try not to stress too much about missing things. I need to do a better job of that. Like, if I don't get to everything, But sometimes a proper warm up does pay benefits. It's going to limit injury. It's going to, I think, help you achieve what you want to get out of said test that morning. That much more if you're properly warmed up. So I'll be on the shorter side. Maybe you have the perspective of, hey, being able to take a little bit longer.
Yeah, as someone who builds my entire day around my training sessions, I have the liberty to do that, but it comes at a cost. We're doing a podcast at 8:30 at night, and last night I was responding to some emails at 10:30. I had this window of opportunity to get work done, but I do build my day around my training sessions, so that does put me in a position where I most of the time, and I'm talking most of the time, like 98% of the time, I will go through my own warm-up, which is, I do have that documented online. It's on YouTube. I go through a basic warm-up specifically every day, and that's 10 minutes or so of effort there. And then I will go into a specific primer type warm-up that helps me get ready for whatever's going on for that day. I was telling you today I had some squat clean work, some front squat work as well. That was the first thing to kick off the day. So, I started up with goblet kettlebell step-ups, to get some individual leg priming going on, some weighted pistols, some kettlebell thrusters, all of that to help prime my core, my legs for some heavy lifting. And it's not fun. It's mundane. In fact, sometimes I'm annoyed at how out of breath I am in a warm-up when I haven't started the workout yet. Like, this isn't supposed to feel like this until my brain is ready to work out when I'm working out. But sometimes the warm-up can be really challenging. But I'm super warm. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas right now. So at the end of my warm-up tonight, this morning, was incredibly sweaty, but I was primed to do this lifting session, and I felt safe. My first front squat felt good, and I think that's one of the things that I found by doing a solid, consistent, proper warm up. The first rep of something doesn't hurt, and on the days that I do only have that, I don't have that much time to get the warm up done. That first rep hurts. The first time I put a barbell overhead, if I'm not warm, it's not pleasant. I just feel old and achy. But if I prime the system, boy, things feel, so much better. I've lubricated all the joints. All the internal engine parts are ready to move now. And on higher skill movements like ring muscle ups, bar muscle ups, chest to bar, there are some movements that actually require a little more warming up to do, just to get through and make sure that I'm not putting myself in a position where I could get injured. I actually just held a competitive training camp this past weekend, and someone said, "What's the most important thing as you move into becoming a competitor? Is it like nutrition? Like if we could boil it down to what's the most important thing?" And I was like, don't get hurt. That is the most important thing. So whatever you need to do to not get hurt, because that's 3 steps back. It's not just 2 steps, it's 3, 4 steps back. It takes so much work to get back to healthy. So again, it is a matter of time, and everything is a compromise, right? So sometimes we've got a smaller window, so we might, and I will do this from time to time, I may have to consolidate that warm up. Now, as we move into the summer months, I don't know if you found it, it's easier to warm up when it's light out in the morning.
Absolutely.
When it's not 10 degrees out, right? It's easier to get warm. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's the doors to the garage are already open. Walk in there in the morning, lights coming up, and you don't have to feel like you still need your winter coat on to be able to grab the PVC pipe and start to warm up a little bit. Yeah.
And
I'll say this to you. Go ahead.
No, go. You go. You're good.
Oh, I was going to say I find myself needing a lot more thorough of a warm up when it's upper body, more shoulder intensive, just because of. I think it's easier to step into lower body squatting, lunging, anything like that requires the use of your larger muscles below the waist. Doesn't take as much to warm up as something technical or something overhead or something with swinging, like you said, bar muscle up, ring muscle ups, toes to bar. Those I have to be careful with, because I think the torque on the shoulders as we get older, have to be careful with that. You go into that cold, that's asking for a recipe for disaster.
I agree. I also feel like I tend to spend a little more time mobilizing areas that have been historically troublesome. So yes, shoulders in particular, if we're doing something overhead or something where we're swinging, or doing some shoulder rotation work. For me, I've always had some issues with my right hip. So that affects lunging, it affects squatting, it affects actually everything. Running, it doesn't matter. Walking, existing. My left hip needs to be warmed up just to exist in life now. But if I will spend more time making sure that those problem areas are well warmed up, so that I can avoid injury or re-injuring an area that's a little sensitive. But I also find that they require a little more time to warm up. You said walking lunges, and I'm like, ooh, well, I got to warm up for those. I really got to warm up for walking lunges. I am really good at that.
Okay.
But I really got to warm up for that. To me, they're like pistol squats. I have to warm up as much for pistol squats as I do walking lunges.
Oh, I hate them.
It's crazy.
Oh, hate them. My knees hate them.
And it's funny because my knees are happy. I've got happy knees, but I've got an angry hip. It's not angry, but it gets angry easily. And that's just one of those things. So, with that in mind, masters athletes, good luck. We got to find the balance between work, life, balance, family, and staying injury free. Best way to do that is to warm up. I guess the last thing I'll say, since I'm on the topic, is that people often ask me, like, do I do additional mobility? Do I do mobility sessions at night or outside? I do all of my mobility as part of my warm up. So that is the time when I consistently work on my ankle mobility. I'm consistently improving my wrist mobility, my hip mobility, shoulder mobility. That's just part of my warm up. So some people do that as a separate session, which can help help make life a little bit easier. For me,
I do.
Yes, you do it separate.
I do it separately. I use the Pliability app. It is absolutely something that I have been trying to be more dedicated to, but it's something later in the evening. It doesn't take a super long time if you choose one of the shorter tracks, but you're consistent with it. And I just feel better. I feel better than moving the next day, kind of taking some of the pain away from whatever has happened the current day that you're doing, that you're working, what you're working with.
Well, I may have to try that.
Some people
It's
swear
probably
by
a
it.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have to do
Yeah.
that. And again, if I can give 10 minutes, I got 10 minutes at night. That's 10 minutes where I can catch up on like the latest video on YouTube about anything, really anything CrossFit
Yep.
related. I'll just
Yep.
watch.
Absolutely.
Well, Rick, it's come to that time of our podcast where it's time for some picks of the week. I'm gonna do mine first because yours is really fun. I can't wait to hear yours.
Good.
I'll share mine really quick. So I have for years now. I've taken a nighttime recovery drink. It's a protein powder that has some ingredients in there that promote recovery and sleep. It's called Third Z. And so the way that you would spell that is third with a ZY on the end, Third Z. And it's such a good, they sent me this product, and I'm not someone who adds a lot of supplements to my life. I mean, I'm very careful about what I add. I don't want to spend money that I don't need to spend. I also don't want to put things in my body that I don't need. So I thought I would give it a shot. At the time I was taking magnesium, L-tryptophan as well before bed in order to help me sleep better. Those ingredients were already in Third Z, but it also includes collagen as well as a number of other ingredients. So I gave it a shot, and my sleep recovery went through the roof for the entire week that I was taking this. I was like, oh my gosh. At the time I was wearing a Whoop. Now I wear an Apple Watch, but it was essentially the same data tracked, and my recovery went through the roof. I said that, but I was in the green every day for like a week. And then whenever you set a new norm, the tracker will then make that an average, make that more normal. So my new normal was much more well recovered. And it was fantastic. So when I started working with Third Z, I didn't realize they were just a couple months old. So I've been working with them for 18 months at least now. So they're a great company. I set a meeting with them this week just to catch up. And I love them. They've supported me as a master's athlete for the past year and a half. I've referred Third Z for that year and a half, and everyone that has tried it has loved it. So shout out to those guys. It's a great company. I don't share a lot about supplements. I don't promote supplements at this point. Third Z is a supplement, and it's well worth it. It's great. I'll in the description, I'll leave a link that gives you 25% off your first order of Third Z. So that's a nice discount. Give that a shot. It's great stuff.
And it's something I've heard you talk about. And as much as you and I talk and catch up, you mention it a lot, and I've never tried it. So, hey, anything to help me sleep, trust me, sign me up. So I'll do that. My pick of the week is a throwback to what we talked about last week. The new sponsor of, let's see what we call them, recovery drinks and protein shakes for the CrossFit Games this year is the Jocko line of products, Jocko Fuel maybe, or something like that, but specifically Jocko Molk, and it's MOLK. Now, we record these audio only, but if you could see me, and I think Jason's laughing at me now, because all through this episode, I have been drinking one. I said, I found it at Vitamin Shop this past weekend, and I said, you know what better way to try it than a taste test during our little recording here. So I have the vanilla Jocko Molk. I keep saying that wrong, but it's a protein shake. It's 30 grams of protein. It's a little heavy, I'll tell you that much. I would not advise having this immediately after a workout if you're really thirsty, which I was tonight. So it didn't work out really well. But I'll tell you what, overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll probably give it an 8. It has a really good taste. It doesn't have, we've all had plenty of these protein type shakes before where they have a very chalky or hard to describe, but it's just not a natural taste to it. This has a pretty good taste. So for that reason, it has everything that you're looking for, I think. Keto friendly, no sugars added, no artificial colors, and grass-fed little picture of a cow on the front of it here. So you guys will have fun with this in Madison. I'll look for it in the stores. it's good. For 30 grams in a little box, again, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. We are certainly not supported by these guys, but just for this recording, I figured, let me drink it instead of a nice glass of ice water or something like that. Forget it. I got a protein shake in my hand. So I think they made a good choice.
Oh, that's great. And to all of those
live endorsement.
Yeah, all those companies that want to send us drinks to test out during our podcast, we'd be happy to do that. And I'm glad to hear that it is not chalky. That's my biggest concern with those types of drinks. But it is it's got some heaviness to it. So maybe not going to drown myself in that after a 10-mile run or something, but to get 30 grams of protein, it's a good amount of protein, and to hit 220 grams of protein a day.
It's 11 ounces, too.
Yeah, and grass-fed. Yeah. Those are happy cows, right? I'm a big fan of happy cows. So,
absolutely.
Well, thanks for trying that out. That's really fun. And we'll call it malt or milk, and we're going to mess it up. Yeah.
Malt.
All right, guys. Well,
I know. Either way.
We want to thank you for tuning in to the Masters of Motion podcast. If you found this episode to be helpful, we'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older. We'll see you.